when I was growing up, Hollywood was considered evil and not something you were a part of. It seemed to be okay to encourage people to be missionaries to Africa and third world countries, but not to Hollywood, not to culture. And I think we just conceded the pop culture conversation to others, and then started complaining about how 95% of Hollywood is made up of people who don't share your values. And you're like, well, whose fault is that?
Dallas, welcome back to the happy hour, and you brought a special someone today.
Yeah,
Amanda.
The first time felt incomplete, and I think you were like, if you're going to come back, can you please bring someone better and more attractive? And so I'm like, hey, I delivered.
Amanda, welcome to the happy hour.
Glad to be here.
I'm so glad you guys are here. Dallas and Amanda Jenkins on the happy hour today. Guys, if people don't know anything about The Chosen or what you do, introduce yourselves to us. Maybe give us a little bit. Tell us about your family. I know you guys are new to Texas in the past couple of years, but tell us about your family so people can get to know you a little bit more.
Yeah, we moved to Texas 2 years ago because Texas is where we film The Chosen. And Amanda and I are right now in our studio on the Chosen lot.
Like 2 miles from our house, which is helpful.
Yes. Because the first couple seasons of The Chosen, which is a multi-season show about the life of Christ, told primarily through the eyes of those who knew him. And season 4 was recently completed and will be coming out in a couple months. First, before that will be our Christmas special that we're doing, which we can talk about at some other time. But point is, the first 2 seasons we lived in Illinois, but we're filming in Texas and in Utah, and that was just not working.
It was not working. Not working on the home front.
Yes, and,
you're like living 2 different lives. It's like sometimes you're here. Yeah, I understand. So you picked up the whole family and moved to Texas.
Bless our children. Yes, we picked them up. They, I would say willingly, but so sad.
I'm sure.
So sad. It was so hard. 2 kids came to Texas still in school, 2 off to college. So it was just interesting.
Yeah,
and
we have 4 kids, 3 biological. Like you, we are also an adoptive family. So our 4th is adopted. He's still in high school at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Our other daughter she's now a freshman at Liberty with her older sister, and our oldest son graduated from Liberty
graduated and came home.
Last spring. So now, right as I speak to you, we've got 2 kids at home, our oldest and our youngest. Our middles are in college.
This is a whole new world that my husband and I have just entered into this where, our son, our oldest, is a freshman. Well, no, he would kill me if I said that. He's in his 2nd year of college, but he's at Texas State, which is right down the road in San Marcos. And so he's at Texas State, and then I have 3 more in high school. Well, I just want to say, Amanda, as a lifelong Texan, we welcome you to the great state of Texas. And I'm sure you have learned that people in Texas are very proud to be from Texas.
Very proud and really warm and loving and wonderful.
Good.
Like it's really like the people are pretty great. People are pretty great. The heat, not so much. The people.
Oh my gosh,
great.
you guys! The heat this summer. Do you guys film in the summer? Do you record and shoot in the summer?
Yes, unfortunately.
More than you want to.
When you find yourself in Utah for the latter part of our shoot, and it's 100 degrees in Utah, and you're out in the fields in the sunlight, and you're saying, "Oh, what a relief!"
Gosh,
you know that there's a problem in Texas. So we do try to avoid filming during the worst of it. We try to avoid filming outdoors during the worst of it because when you're talking 12 hours with no protection, it's really really brutal. And we actually did last year for season 3, we filmed a scene of the feeding of the 5,000. And over the course of 3 days, 10,000 Chosen fans came out, split up into 4 groups of 4,000 per day, and for this scene. And we had we had 3 medical teams on set, and they were active every 20 minutes.
I believe it.
Yeah, just helping some of the fans who were sitting in the field,
to
just
live,
needing help and assistance.
To live.
Yeah,
to survive the scene.
Yeah, brutal.
My friend here in town, she's a filmmaker, and she they shot a film this summer. Both my kids were involved. My son wants to be a filmmaker. He's, like I said, at Texas State studying film. And then
Oh, cool.
one of my other sons is an actor, and they shot in the summer, and they had one of their directors like got heat stroke. I mean, it was terrible. She told me just the other day, she said, never, ever again will I ever shoot a film in the summer in Texas. It is brutal. So kudos to you guys. Kudos to you.
We've said that multiple seasons in a row,
and then you find yourself there again.
Out there. Yeah.
But we do have a lot of things in place to protect ourselves. So not to turn this into a discussion of weather, but we haven't lost anybody. So
good. Okay, well, let's talk about The Chosen. If anyone's been living under a rock or did not hear you last time you were here, Dallas, in 2021, Chosen is this phenomenon. I don't know if that's a word that you guys would use, that I don't know if you ever could have seen coming, but it feels like every season, like some shows, I don't know if you guys feel this way. Sometimes you're watching shows and you're like, I like the first two episodes, and then it kind of died out. I feel like the fan base that you guys are gathering season after season is multiplying, just like Jesus multiplied the fish and the loaves. I feel like, look at that, I'm such a dork. I feel like it's just getting bigger and bigger. What do you guys think about this?
Yes, it is getting bigger and bigger. It fits into our ethos, though, to answer your question when you say, what do you think of it? I happen to be wearing my t-shirt right now that says 5 and 2. And the ampersand in the middle has a little, like a loaf and then a little fish, because we're clever that way. But our whole ethos, our lives were changed, Amanda's and mine, dramatically by the story of the feeding of the 5,000. And a lesson that we were given by a guy across the world who felt led by God to share with us. It's not your job to feed the 5,000. It's only to provide the loaves and fish. And so that truly changed our lives, that concept. And how that has played itself out is that at every step of The Chosen, we have been willing to do the thing that doesn't seem to make sense, that might not necessarily be by the world's standards, normal math, or a traditional decision. And we also have not had expectations. So when we put our 5 loaves and 2 fish together, Amanda does nearly all of our writing, our extra biblical, I want to say that word because sometimes we get in trouble for that word. Our non-show content, like our Bible study, our devotional book. In fact, her work is actually more rooted in
it's super biblical.
Yeah, super biblical than even the show. But Bible studies, our kids' books, and all that kind of stuff. She does that full time, and is also a partner with me in the whole project. But with the show itself, the making of the show, we deliver the very best that we can. We make sure that our 5 loaves and 2 fish are healthy and good and well baked and well, caught and whatever. And we hand them to God, and the transaction is over. The fact that the show has grown so huge around the world, we can legitimately say without arrogance, because we can say, wow, that's amazing. We're watching that happen too. That is really fun to watch.
Right.
But it would be just as crazy for us to tell people, look what we've done. Look what we're accomplishing, as it would have been for the boy who delivered the 5 loaves and 2 fish to come home to his parents and go, I fed 5,000 people today, Mom. That would be crazy. And so what do we think of it? We think it's really cool.
Pretty cool.
We love the stories we're hearing of impact. It would be a problem if we were hearing the show is growing and now people don't need to read their Bibles because they watch the show, or now people have something that can, be their new foundational relationship with God. What we're hearing over and over again is people saying, I am reading my Bible more than ever. I am now back in church. Some of the church hurt that I've had has been healed. Some of my questions about my disability or my doubts or my struggles, I now feel seen more than I have. And now I'm seeing Jesus more clearly. Now I'm reading my Bible more clearly. All of that. That's what's exciting about it. And
there are things, let me just add to that. There are things that the content even itself can't do. So the content's really great, and Dallas and the writers are great, and the actors are great, and our crew's great. All that's true. But there are things that God is doing, as in not just reaching large audiences, but reaching specific audience, like special needs, the special needs community, and children and older people who the show moves pretty fast. Like the guys are pretty influenced by like current content in the world.
You mean the content of the show? The
show,
storylines are like not easy to easy to follow.
It's moving, and they've got accents, and it's nuanced, and there's history, and then we'll hear that these communities that we never thought we would be able to reach are not only enjoying the show, but like actually understanding the show and having their own relationship with Jesus impacted. And that is stuff that you go, there is no way.
Yeah, we're not that good.
That's
right.
The
This is
writing
all
or the
God.
crew or the yeah, that's just the Lord doing a cool thing that we all get.
Yeah,
to
we
watch.
are providing our loaves and fish. So I always try to tell people this, we don't like to overcorrect. And when you hear people say, God does it all, I'm just here. We are responsible for our part.
You're working hard
include
and bringing your good
he does
fish and your
include us-
good loaves.
in 100 degrees, mind you.
Yeah. So he could do it all himself, but he throughout the Bible chooses to include us and demand stuff of us. And he said, I need food when he was feeding the 5,000. He could have just had it all appear from nowhere. But he's like, I need food. Will someone please bring me some food?
Yeah.
When he raised Lazarus from the dead, you go roll the stone away. You unwrap his garment. Like he
Be involved.
You
people.
need to strike the rock in order for the sea to part. So we are still responsible to do our part, but the multiplication, the impact on people that goes beyond normal, we definitely are going, wow, we're not this good. So this is fun and sobering.
It's amazing to watch. You guys just wrapped season 4, like you mentioned. And I'd love to ask you just a couple questions, even though it's not out yet. I think it comes out early 2024. Am I right about that?
Season 4 comes out near the end of like early February, late January.
Of 2024.
Of 2024. We have a Christmas special that we're doing that's coming out in a few weeks, a couple weeks. But yeah, that's the current.
Okay, before I get to season 4, because I want to ask you a couple questions directly about that season, let's talk about the Christmas special. Now, you guys released a Christmas special in 2021, and I sat in the theater with my family and literally ugly cried my way through the entire thing. My husband at one point looked at me and he was like, you know the story, like, what is wrong with you? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I was literally moved. I just got chills again thinking about it. The way that the songs and the story, I mean, it was very art. It was beautiful art is what I felt about it. So tell me about this Christmas special. What makes it different than the last one?
So this is really interesting. The show started, The Chosen was not only birthed by the failure of a big movie that I released and it bombed at the box office and we were wondering if we'd ever, do another project. And I genuinely surrendered my career to God and said, I'm willing to do whatever you want, even if that means not making movies. I dusted off a short script that I and my co-writer had written a couple years before that we put on the shelf because I was doing this Hollywood movie. And it was a short film about the birth of Christ from the perspective of the shepherds.
Okay.
And I was doing that for my church and I filmed it on my friend's farm in Illinois, 20 minutes from my house. And it was 20 minutes long and it was intended solely for my church. And that short film about the shepherds got in the hands of a streaming platform, and long story short, it became the pilot episode and the method through which people wanted to invest. It kind of became the concept pilot for the show. Well, flash forward a couple of years, I then did, after season 2, I did The Messengers, which is what you saw in theaters, which is the story of the birth of Christ from the eyes of Mary and Joseph. And it also included a flash forward to older Mother Mary and older Mary Magdalene, and they're meeting during the beginning of the early church, and they're reminiscing about the birth of Christ. And Mother Mary is sharing with Mary Magdalene her Magnificat, which she hadn't shared with anybody. And she's like, please deliver this to Luke.
So good.
And
Maybe that's when I lost it. I mean, it was just so much.
I'm still doing, like, as soon as he says it,
I almost got choked up.
misty.
Yeah, I almost got choked up just now. Remember? So anyway,
I literally have chills over my entire body, you guys. It's so good. Okay, keep going.
Well, this is a good announcement. People should watch it then, because even just talking about it. But what I would say is and over so we've done 2 Christmas specials. We did, the first one was the shepherd. We played the shepherd with 10 music artists performing songs on our set in Utah. Then the second one was The Messengers. And we did that with artists, coming in. What we've done is now, this is really cool.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
It's cooler than I thought it would be, by the way.
Yeah.
I did not think it would be cool.
It
is cool.
We've combined the shepherd and the messengers into one story. So we have taken footage from 5-6 years ago and footage from just a couple years ago and blended them together. Now they will look different because again, I was filming this on a farm in Illinois. So and then the second one I was filming on a massive set in Utah with, $1 million at our disposal.
Yeah.
So we have blended them together, and the stories are so seamless. And so now you're seeing it through the shepherd's viewpoint and the Mary and Joseph's viewpoint. And then they come together and they meet, because we filmed with those actors, like the actors who play Mary and Joseph, we filmed with them back on my farm in Illinois, and then filmed with them again separately with the messengers. And so now, like,
and to be honest, a little inside or behind the scenes, I would say, like, we geek out a little about this stuff too, because we didn't know, know what God was going to do. And even when we did the messengers, I don't think there was some thought as far as like building on what had been done in the pilot episode. But when we saw it come together, it wasn't just another one of those moments that you go, only God can do that kind of thing. Only God can orchestrate.
Like there's a moment when the baby is born and we're with Mary and Joseph in the stable, and they're together, and we're gonna close up, and he pulls the baby out and he's looking at the baby, and we cut to the footage that I filmed 5 years earlier, where Joseph is the shepherd is watching from a distance, and he's seeing the baby born that we filmed several years later, and it looks. I remember when I saw it on an airplane.
You couldn't have planned it perfectly.
I'm even choked up now, but I watched in the airplane and went, "Oh my word!" And I started to cry, and I showed it to Amanda, and she started to cry. So there's that. That's all great. And then we took kind of the greatest hits of the first two specials. So some of the music, Zach Williams doing "Go Tell It on the Mountain,"
so good.
Phil Wickham and Maverick City Music, and Brandon Lake doing "Joy to the World." Brandon Lake's "Gratitude." Some songs.
Okay, Brandon Lake's "Gratitude." I also lost it in that as well.
Yeah,
I mean, I had never heard that song before. I don't think until that moment. And so my husband also was like, "Do you know this? Is this why it's so moving to you?" I'm like, "I've never heard this, and I can't stop crying."
Yeah, and that song had been out for a year, and when we put it on our Christmas special, it went to #1 on the charts.
Okay, and can I just share a quick side just for fun? We were just recently in Brazil, and we attended a worship service, and they sang "Gratitude" in Portuguese.
Yeah.
It was too much, except so we're singing in English, they're singing in Portuguese. I'm crying. It's amazing. And then we get to the Alleluia, which is like the same in every language. It's too much. Yeah. It's just amazing to see what's happening, what God is doing around the world.
And I'm able to text Brandon. I'm going, I'm about to share about the Chosen at this church. And we just sang your song that exploded because of and I'm texting him going, we're singing your song in Portuguese right now.
Cool.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
So then here's another cool thing. Andre Bocelli is a fan of the show, and one of the, if not the greatest, he's on the Mount Rushmore of great singers of all time. And we recorded him performing "Oh Holy Night" in Italy. And that music video is going to be in the special along with these other greatest hits. So Andre Bocelli singing "Oh Holy Night" in Italy, and along with the birth of Christ, the nativity scene. We have also 2 new monologues. I know you've seen the monologues in the past that we did for these Christmas specials that were unbelievable. In fact, Amanda actually does one of them. And
Amanda.
It's a collection of greatest hits. It's kind of a fun, fan-based experiment that actually worked so well that it now operates as something that newcomers can see. So if you've never seen The Chosen, this is a great entryway into it, because it's the nativity story, and it's got all these, it's got 5 or 6 extraordinary musicians performing unbelievable songs. The ones that were most resonant, the ones that the fans most were excited about in the original specials.
We're excited. We're clearly so excited.
You guys, I am clearly so excited right now. We're recording this in September, and I am like, is it Christmas yet? Because I cannot wait. And I just feel like I got a little insider baseball behind this as well.
So and it's going to be in theaters in just a couple of weeks. Because if you're listening to this now in November, it's coming out in theaters. So just check your local listings, as they always like to say. But this is something you want to see with other people, because of the joy of the nativity. And then some of these songs are like there's been theaters, and I'm not exaggerating, that started singing along and like
Yeah.
worshiping.
Yeah.
I'm getting emotional thinking about it.
I,
But in the first couple times, and it's this is really cool.
Yeah.
guys, I'm not just saying this because Dallas and Amanda are here. Like my husband, if he was here, he would agree. I bawled my eyes through it because there is just something, and this is what you guys are doing with The Chosen so much. And in fact, it's funny. I was just working on an edit for a book I'm doing, and I mentioned The Chosen, and my editor was like, "I think you should take it out. I don't know, like what's it gonna look like in 20 years?" And I was like, "I think it's still gonna be around, you guys. Like I think we can leave this in here." But the thing I love about it is it takes something that for me as a believer who's been following Jesus when I was 21, it takes stories that I've read 1,000 times again and again and again, and your eyes can almost just read them and you just skip over it and stuff. It makes it come to life. And so it's like you're taking pages on the paper. And I know that's what you guys do as filmmakers and directors is you're taking things on a paper and making them come to life. I want to ask you one more question about this Christmas special. I think over the last couple of years, there's been a really big, I would say, increase in faith-based movies not being cheesy. I hope that is not offensive. I think that you would probably agree. You guys are a part of that. So there's that. And so I think there's just this idea of we can bring our friends to the theater. We can bring our friends and recommend this TV show knowing that it's not going to be like, oh gosh, this is lame, Two questions for you. Number one, why do you think that's happening right now with arts and faith? Like what's the push for that? And number two, what is your hope for putting The Chosen in theaters in this huge mass market, not just on TV, but in theaters? So two questions for you.
Sure. So to the first one, I do think that the faith space, the Christian community has been so far behind, not just in the execution of faith-based stories, but in the development of people who can tell them. When I was growing up, Hollywood was considered evil and not something you were part of. It seemed to be okay to encourage people to be missionaries to Africa and third world countries, but not to Hollywood, not to culture. And I think we just conceded the pop culture conversation to others, and then started complaining about how 95% of Hollywood is made up of people who don't share your values. And you're like, well, whose fault is that?
That's math.
Yeah.
It's not like,
Yeah.
it's not like Hollywood is some room that only allows certain people in. Anyone can make movies. Anyone can make television shows. Anyone can start a network. Anyone can start a theater chain. So we just didn't take it seriously. Well, now, colleges have film programs and media programs, and the youth in the faith space are seeing it, and every time something comes along that like a young Christian filmmaker potential would like so your son, I'm guessing it's similar to. I know there's a lot of different factors here, but just track with me for a second. It's similar to when Tony Dungy and Lovie Smith as black coaches in the Super Bowl. The Bears versus the Colts.
Yep.
People were going, okay, wow, I can be a coach. If there were I'm sure young black men around the country going, wow, okay, it's possible to not just be a player, I can be a coach. And then to start that process, to start studying and making connections and networking with that in mind. It's a similar thing with any kind of new thing. It's like, oh wow, you can have a good faith-based movie. Maybe as an aspiring filmmaker, I don't have to give up my faith in the context of my art. And so,
but I do love the picture of it takes time to develop. And so I think we're finally seeing some fruits of that development. Our son too, film major, your son, it seems like we're less afraid of sending our children now into that world, and it's so much more accessible too. It's on your phones, it's on your computer, so it's actually not quite as localized as it used to be, which opens it up to so many more people. But I do love the idea that Christians are starting to realize we have to develop these skills. This isn't, I think for some reason, the arts is something that people think they can just step into. So there's so many people that will say, and from a really sweet place, but oh, I've never done it a day in my life, but I'd love to be an actor. Is there any opportunity? And you're just like, holy cow, people hone their craft for years and take classes and go out and take risks. And in the same way, I feel like we're now on the on the cusp of,
Mhm.
of our little people that we're developing, you know, a
Yeah.
whole new generation. Is at least my hope that now we're about to release some new talent.
I love that, Dallas, and I never thought about it before what you just said. I'm 45, so we're probably in the similar age bracket. And when I was growing up, it was like, those are the evil people. So we're going to stay away from them, and we're going to just kind of be in our little bubble over here. And what we've seen now is the fruit of that is a lack of good Christian people who are making great films. And I love how you said earlier, you alluded to, I knew I was going to ask you this, but you said we have to bring our good work to the table. Like, we're not just showing up with this crappy film set and all kind of stuff and saying, okay, God, make this amazing. Like, we're working hard at it. And this spring, I was able to take my son to LA to the premiere of Jesus Revolution. And it was a moment I was like, that he got to see, like, oh, this is a massive film by a massive production company, and these are Christian people. It just made my heart happy as a mama, you know, to be like, oh, look, this industry. Yeah, it's possible to do something like this.
Yeah, I'm hearing from college students and stuff who will say, now that after The Chosen, I now believe I can apply my faith and stories to this industry when I didn't think so before. So that's been awesome to hear.
So good.
When it comes to theaters, yeah, I mean, when we released that Christmas special a few years ago, and it did $14 million in the box office, based on a short film, like a 45-minute episode, and musicians and stuff like that, you go, wow, this is an opportunity to really. And I don't like to use the word compete, because I don't think that when we're in a theater, that means others can't be. I do believe that art should have lots of different perspectives shown, but we realized in the last couple of times we've released episodes of the show in theaters that not only can it do very well and not only generate income, but be a place for new people to discover the show, to expand the reach of the show, and quite frankly, just for our fans to experience it with other people and to see it on a big screen with the sound and the visuals. And even though they know they're going to get to watch it free soon,
on their
after
on their smaller screen,
whatever they want to do, they know I can watch it for free. I could wait if I wanted to, but there's value to seeing it on the big screen and seeing a story. I think the greatest story ever told deserves the greatest medium ever invented for displaying stories like this. So it's been a really cool opportunity, and I do encourage people to see it in theaters if they can. But the good news is, if you can't afford it, or you're just not a theater person, of course you're going to eventually get to watch it for free in your home, and that's great too.
And all of the above. But also, it is the one cool piece has been to watch, because God has had us off-roading on this project in such a way where we didn't even have access to the normal avenues and how things were done. Dallas was just constantly having to come up with new ways to release and distribute. Putting a television show into a theater was new with The Chosen, and is now actually Hollywood's following, which is a really weird thing to see, that the Christians actually did something new and
we weren't following.
Just
copying someone else. Some people are
trying to survive, let's be honest, but also it's cool because now Hollywood is like, oh, television shows can go into theaters, and now the theater world is being revived a little bit, and the content that is selling the most. I mean, if you look at the box office over the course of the last year, you'll see that a lot of content that is doing really well is great stuff that we want out there, messages we want out there. And so that's been a really fun thing too, that we kind of backed into, not even intending, but as far as being missional goes, I mean, there's nothing cooler than actually going to the spaces that we as kids were told to not go to, and to see that it's successful, and to see that it's actually leading in some ways is really cool.
I love that so much. And Dallas, if you can't say it, I'll say it. You guys are competing with the other people out there who are making TVs and movies, and I love it. I feel like it's like you said, oh, I don't want to say competing, but like you are, and you're actually like, it's not like you're like, oh, the Christians are like, let's let the Christians have a little spot at the table as well. I feel like you're like, oh, here we have a seat at this table. Like, we're at the table. You feel that, don't you?
One of my favorite. And one of my favorite moments. The only reason I say not competing is I would agree, we are, I think, competing for hearts and minds when it comes to faith and morals, and especially the younger generation. But one of the coolest moments, I don't care anymore. I really don't, about numbers, about rankings, about anything like that. But when I turned on, and this happened for a couple months, turn on our Amazon Prime app to watch movies and TV, and you see in the top 10 on Amazon, there was one day where The Chosen was ranked 4th on all of Amazon, and right next to it was Cocaine Bear. And I'm like, that's awesome that we are right next to Cocaine Bear, that we're not just in this safe, protected bubble where only people of faith are going to come see it, but that it's out there and that people are discovering it anew because it's in spaces that we wouldn't have expected and don't normally see Jesus. And Bible content is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I will watch a wide range of films, but I had zero desire to see a bear on cocaine. Okay, so you guys, the special's coming out. You can get tickets in the theater near you. I'll put a link in the show notes, all this stuff. I want to ask you before we go, you just wrapped up season 4. It's coming out in the early 2024. What are some things we can expect to see in 2024? Just a few little nuggets, Dallas.
Yes. Well, as people are seeing through, by now that they're hearing this, or teaser trailers and whatnot. I will admit it is a sad season. Not totally, but there's some sadness. There's a lot of contrast in the season: death and life, light and darkness, bitter and sweet. That is the Christian life that is following Jesus. And in this season, it's more evident than ever. You do see sadness. I mean, this is the season where John 11:35, the shortest verse in the Bible, Jesus wept. That takes place in this season. And it wasn't just because he was soon going to be dying. We do know that where the story is going, spoiler alert, we do know that there's sadness coming, but it's because he was weeping over Jerusalem. He was weeping over the religious leaders not getting it. He was weeping over his own disciples needing to see bad things so that they could be prepared for worse things. He was sad that they weren't quite getting it, that they weren't quite getting his mission, that every time he would talk about, okay, just so you guys know, I'm going to die. I mean, he actually explicitly said this. We forget this, but in the Gospels, he was like, I'm going to die. I'm going to rise again. And you guys are going to also experience persecution. And they're like, yeah, we hear you, but can we talk about who's the greatest?
Sit on your right and your left.
Like, and can I sit on your right hand in the kingdom and sit on your left hand? Yeah. And he's like, are you kidding me? And the humanity of his followers, I know, saddened him. And it saddened that human part of him. We know Jesus was God. We also know he was man. And the human part of him was sad and frustrated by the humanity of those around him and the limited knowledge that they had. And he was like, okay, the only way I can do this, the only way I can show you the truth, the only way you can see the gospel is for me to die. And it's not only sad because of what's to come, because it's going to be brutal and painful and all those things that caused him to say, God, Father God, please take this cup from me. But it's sad that he had to do it, that was the only way for them to see it and to understand and to also have their sins forgiven.
But I will say though too, and this is actually not a shameless plug. It's actually when I read the scripts and I do the Bible studies that walk in tandem with the show. The subject matter of our season 4 Bible study is suffering, except it's not suffering. I kept thinking it's suffering. We're talking about suffering. How am I going to spend 8 weeks talking about suffering? And what it actually ended up being about was that God's goodness eclipses our suffering. And so I think that actually comes through in season 4 is that it is sad, very sad, but you do see throughout the Gospels, and you do see throughout the show, and you do see throughout our study how God's goodness actually overlaps and is bigger than, and the thing that God is doing in and through our suffering is bigger and better than the suffering itself. So I think that theme comes through too.
And I think that's a conversation that humanity needs at every decade of our lives, is that we need a reminder. Amanda, do your Bible studies come out like this coincide? Do they come out the same time as the season?
They do. They include script excerpts, and so we always have to flow a little after the show. So every and I do say we are all about the Bible first, and so our studies are not a supplement to the show. The show supplements the studies because the Word of God is in the spotlight of the studies. But we do bring alongside the themes of the show. So if you're watching the show, you can there's crossover.
Yeah, so we have devotional books too that are different from the Bible studies. It's called The Chosen 40 Days with Jesus, and we do that every year. and those do come out a little bit before the season does.
No
'Cause
spoilers.
we don't give as many
Mhm.
spoilers, but we do take you deeper into the stories, deeper into the scriptures, deeper into the eyes and ears of those who follow Jesus. Because when you see Jesus through the eyes of those who actually met him, you can be changed and impacted in the same way they were. That's what the devotionals are about, as well as the Bible studies.
You guys, I am just so excited for this Christmas special and season 4 coming up. And I think, am I right, Dallas? Are we expecting 6 seasons total of The Chosen? 7.
7.
Of course,
Yeah.
it would end on 7, not on 6. Silly Jamie.
Yes.
7
Exactly.
seasons. Do you have them all written?
Well, I wish.
Okay.
We have season 5.
Was he up last night until 4 a.m. again, writing just season 5? He
Yes.
was.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
So we do have them outlined. We do know where they're going. Obviously, we have some resource material, some source material that helps guide that. So we do know where we're going. We have the ending in mind. We've worked our way backwards. They're plotted out. They're outlined. But no, we have not written season 6 and 7
Which
yet.
I've decided every successful show, I'm telling my film student son this now. I'm like, I think every show should start at the end and outline their seasons, because
Meaning as they're planning it.
Yeah, as they're planning it, rather than writing according to how it's doing. Because I actually find this to be so much better written, actually, than a lot that's out there that goes, oh, like TV shows that find success and then they just keep writing and they don't know where they're going.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This show knows where it's going. They've worked backwards. It's all outlined, which is why not a moment of your time is wasted and everything is working towards the goal. So it's pretty cool.
Well, Dallas and Amanda, thanks for coming on the happy hour. And I'm just like, in the weirdest way, just proud of all the things that you guys are doing, because it just makes my heart so happy to know that people are getting exposed to Jesus in a new and fresh way. And a lot of people for the very first time, and hoping that pushes them towards the word and towards God. And so I'm just really happy for you guys. And thanks for spending some time with us.
Jamie, appreciate you having us on. I hope we can do it again.
Hey friends, I hope you love this conversation as much as I did. To make sure that you never miss any of the happy hour conversations, go ahead and hit the subscribe button below to make sure you're notified every time we release a new episode. And if you want more content today, click on those videos over there. I think you're going to like them just as much as you like the one today.